Howdy, howdy. We are live with some more Tex-Trek content to start off the new year. So I hope everyone had a festive holiday season. We originally had planned to open 2026 with a podcast episode on Starfleet Academy. However, because of some changes and priorities in Paramount Skydance, I guess, and, I guess in addition to making Star Trek, they also want to control the news and censor certain stories, and we didn't want them to get away with that. So we're gonna have to talk about a news story that the owners of Star Trek tried to hide from you. So, but we might get some Starfleet Academy talk in here too. But speaking of which, we should go ahead and get this thing started. So, Taylor, I'm ready if you're ready.
Let's do it.
I'm Fathery,
I'm Miss Taylor.
and this is Text Trek.
Engage.
Welcome back aboard the Starship Texas for the 360th installment of the Tex Trek podcast, the home of Star Trek fandom from deep in the heart of Texas, where we take a deep look at Star Trek, old and new. And while we originally planned to do a show tonight on the top things we hope to see in Starfleet Academy, instead, we are going to talk about the El Salvador concentration camp the owners of Star Trek don't want you to know about. Or specifically, we are going to talk about the 60 Minutes segment that Paramount Skydance owned CBS News recently pulled from airing in the United States. So before we get into that, though, I just need to do a little bit of housekeeping, per usual. And I want to give a huge thank you and shout out to the wonderful Tex Trek Patreon supporters. They keep the Starship Texas flying. They keep our weekly show going. Thank you so very much. Starfleet Sohel, Cake is Eternal, Crazy Dutchie, Joanne Robertson, John Dot, Geek Filter, Quarkspar, Matthew Averett, Braxton, Chuck A., Joel Vallis, Arthur Lamoureux, our associate producer Chris Garris, Dave Farabee, Dave A. Gregory, Wanda Valentine, Ren, Kareen, and our anonymous supporters. And I want to let everyone know that Taylor and I are actually reworking the Text Trek Patreon for the new year. We don't quite have the new perks figured out yet, but within the next 2 weeks, we will be making some Patreon announcements. But we plan to continue to do a lot of fun things with our patrons in the Text Trek Discord server. So please make sure that if you are able to support us on Patreon, that you sign up at the link wherever you're watching or listening to this. And even if you can't help with a monthly contribution, just any kind of a super chat, during our YouTube lives, or just sharing our content goes a long way to support us. So whatever you're able to help us out with, it really means a lot. Especially right now when I'm doing something new and different with our content that it's less familiar territory. I'm a little nervous about it. So knowing that people are still supporting us right now, it makes a huge difference for me, and I think I can do this job better. So, but just I guess like a little bit of Star Trek news. There was the well, I thought it was kind of cool, but the Rose
Rose
Bowl
Bowl
Parade
Parade. Yeah.
Star Trek float.
Yeah, that was really cool.
I don't know. Taylor, you're coming in a little faint. I don't know if you
Oh,
if you can turn your mic volume up a little bit. But folks in the live chat, let us know if
is this
Taylor is
better?
loud and clear.
Can you hear me?
You're pretty faint on my end, but I don't know if people listening can hear you.
Okay,
Um,
let me do a little. I'm sorry. Let me look and see if there's anything going on.
but yeah, we had our float during the Rose Bowl parade with George Takei and Rebecca Romaine, and I think the Klingon kid from Starfleet Academy. It's kind of weird when you're promoting a show that no one has seen before because people aren't used to the characters yet. But just to remind people, we will be talking about Starfleet Academy weekly. Uh, when the show premieres January 15th, we will have live streams on Thursday nights on YouTube where Rachel will host the first reaction stream like we've uh, typically do with new episodes of Star Trek. And then on Fridays, Taylor and I will be live with the podcast episodes. We're not going to do the traditional format we normally do with the deep dive discussions, though, because with the way that Paramount Skydance is acting right now, we think it's also going to be important to highlight some of the concerning issues that we have with them. I think the fact that Larry and David Ellison they have their fortune from Oracle and they're building a media empire, and are willing to just parrot the propaganda coming from the White House right now, and as like a big motivator why Skydance now wants to take over not just Paramount but also Warner Brothers Discovery and own CNN. And so, one of the things that has really got me frustrated with them is now that Paramount Skydance owns CBS News, and they have Barry Weiss in charge over there as editor. She seems to be making it her mission to uh, rework the voice of CBS News to be just not only they're extremely pro genocide and pro Israel, but also now very pro MAGA and pro Trump regime, and pro war with Venezuela, and a lot of other big concerns that we don't want our media pushing. So when it does start pushing that, I think it's important that we call it out. And if we are going to be watching Star Trek and talking about Star Trek, I think we also need to be talking about what the people who own Star Trek and are making money from it are doing, or what they're not doing. So. But just to give a little bit of info on this particular subject for I guess for people who hadn't been following the news, but as people might remember, back in March of this year, when the recent new Department of Homeland Security and the new ICE under the Trump regime started making big waves with what I guess Trump ran on was the mass deportations. And the issue with that is when you want to have like these insanely high deportation numbers, there aren't that many violent criminal immigrants in the United States to round up and ship off. So you just start grabbing whoever you can find. When your mission isn't to secure the United States or have like a safe country with secure borders, your mission is to have the maximum number of deportations possible. So while this was going on in March of this year, about 238 Venezuelans living in America were deported to a horrendous prison in a country that they had no connection to in El Salvador. The CECOT prison established by El Salvador's President Bukele, who he calls himself the world's coolest dictator. He established this prison in 2022, and basically was solving El Salvador's crime problems by just rounding up people and shoving them in there without due process. He says he was going after gang members, but these people are locked up with no plans to ever be released or rehabilitated, and are treated under horrendous conditions and never had their day in trial. So it's a terrible thing to witness in another country, and it's even more unthinkably terrible when your country starts participating in it as well. And the 60 Minutes news story that was going to talk about these Venezuelans who had been deported from the United States to the El Salvador prison, they had this 13-minute long segment that was planned to air on TV on CBS a couple weeks ago. And then at last minute, the segment was pulled by editor Barry Weiss. And she was recently installed at CBS after the Paramount Skydance merger to be in charge of CBS News, but also to make sure that all of it goes along with the Trump narrative, with the White House narrative. And the motivation for the Ellisons to do that and comply with what Trump asks from them is because they want to continue to have like these big mergers. And they just, the fact that Skydance was able to merge with Paramount and like that was approved so quickly, that was kind of dependent on the Ellisons promising Trump, oh yeah, don't worry, we'll be nice to you on CBS News. And now like that same mentality, that same type of like, oh yeah, we'll do whatever you want, big man. Like now that is fueling this potential merger between Paramount and Warner Brothers Discovery. And it's really bizarre to have like a federal government that just is like deciding on like, okay, do we approve these mergers? Is this a monopoly? Well, let's see how nice they're going to be to the guy in charge, and then we'll decide if they're a monopoly or not. And that should scare the hell out of people. But this particular segment, Taylor, I know that you've watched it. I've watched it. I want to get the link in the chat so other people can find it. So I'm gonna look that up, but have it right here. But I was just wondering if if you had any thoughts after watching this the 13-minute, 60-minute segment that was banned in the United States but released in Canada and available online.
Yeah, I think after watching it, it surprises me that they wouldn't air it. Even just like it's like really bad, obviously, but like the coverage is pretty neutral. Like I didn't feel like it was like, and this is all because of this, and this is like a conspiracy. Like it was like, here are the facts, And so I think that's what's even scarier about it being banned in the US is it feels very neutral, and I don't know. So I think it could have been, I'm not really sure. This is like really new territory, so I'm learning all of this with you guys, and like I'm learning from Steven a lot, and like reading the news is something that's like is something I'm like having to force myself to do because I've definitely been an ostrich in the sand for many years until 2025 really forced me to pull it back out. But yeah, I feel like it's all just like so dystopian, and it feels really insane to be witnessing some of the things that have happened this year and see no consequences and no repercussions. So this is a really terrifying one, just dragging people off the streets and people ripping their families, like ICE literally ripping families apart and sending them to countries that they've never even been to and don't belong to. And like, and they're like going through processes and stuff that are like, and it's just nuts to me because it's not even like a criminal like act. Like it's like a misdemeanor to be a migrant, like, and not be undocumented, if you
right
will.
Like if you're
like
overstaying
it's not
your
a
visa,
criminal offense.
yeah it's yeah
Why
it's
would you
like,
ship them out of the country for that? That's insane.
it's like the equivalent of like a traffic ticket. You're not like convicted of something in court. So
it's insane. Sorry for rambling.
I mean, but no, like that's why we're doing this, because like we should be alarmed and disturbed. And I just want to share the reporter in the 60 Minutes segment, Sharon Alfonsi, I think is her name. But I have a quote from her that this was in an email to her colleagues that I'm going to read. And she said, "Our story was screened 5 times and cleared by both CBS attorneys and Standards and Practices. It is factually correct. In my view, pulling it now after every rigorous internal check has been met is not an editorial decision. It is a political one."
Yeah.
And yeah, like Barry Weiss gave the excuse that, oh well, the reason why we pulled the story is because we contacted the federal government. We contacted the Department of Homeland Security. We asked Stephen Miller to give us a comment. You know, anything from the White House, and all they got was crickets. But anyone who has ever watched the news or read an article like knows that yeah, there's a lot of times where you get this little thing in there where it says we reached out to so and so for comment and they didn't reply. It's like a non-reply is in its way a response, you know. So that's a terrible
Yeah.
reason.
It's
And
like a normal thing to hear in like true crime and any kind of law case, any kind of like podcast where they're like talking politics or news or anything like that. And so it's like, yeah, like you said, like it is its own comment to not comment, but you're still allowed to run whatever story you want to run if you choose not to comment on the story that they're telling. Like
right.
just having that little like saying like we reached out and didn't get a response, that's enough of like, I don't want to say it's a loophole because it's like a legality, right? Like to cover the story facts, you know what
But
I mean?
imagine hearing that in another country. Imagine hearing in Russia this newspaper or this reporter had all these concerns about human rights violations or breaking the law, and they contacted Putin for comment, and Putin didn't say anything. So it's like, well, we can't talk about that story in Russia. We just have to bury it and not talk about it. Like we would be like, wow, that is a dystopian authoritarian
Yeah.
state.
Well, and it sets up the repetitive pattern of like, okay, well, if they did it for this story, they can do it for literally any other story, right? Like it's literally cherry picking the news that they want to put out. Like this is like the first big tip of that hat, right? Like they know the loophole that they're going to use now.
Yeah. And, I don't want to see the Ellisons expand their media empire. They've already taken over TikTok. It's my understanding that Larry Ellison now owns or controls the United States side of TikTok, which, the big concern there, that was something Mitt Romney talked about on stage at some event or something. He's like, "Oh yeah, people are seeing the real violence going on in Gaza. It's crazy that people can get on TikTok and see this stuff. We've lost control of the narrative. We lost control of the media." And it's like, yeah, we can't have a. It's like the establishment wants to maintain control of everything we see and hear, and stop us from hearing or seeing anything that would inconvenience them or make them look bad. But I can't help but think about the Star Trek Voyager episode, The Shoot, which Taylor and I just rewatched recently. But like that whole story, it's not a great episode of Star Trek, but it's not bad. It's about just two guys wrongfully imprisoned for a crime they didn't commit. It's a tale as old as time. It's happened a lot, unfortunately. But I don't understand how you can be in the Star Trek fandom and enjoy stories like that and sympathize with these fictional characters and then not want to expand those sympathies to real world examples of those types of injustices. Like if we can't apply what we think about in Star Trek and in our fictional stories and these moral quandaries and these
ethical situations.
Yeah, if we can't think about all that stuff and then apply it in real life, then what the hell was the point in us wasting all that time even bothering to think about it?
Yeah. I think there's been a really big shift in, not to totally derail where this conversation is going, but there's definitely been a big shift in consumption of TV and shows and movies and stuff without, I think, a critical analysis and this, I don't know, I just feel like it was a little bit more, you would watch something I don't know, maybe this is just me. I might be struggling with this conversation a little bit. I'm sorry. But when I was younger, I felt like there was a lot of critical discourse. You would watch a movie and then you would discuss it. And it would be okay, and how can that apply to something that we see in real life? I don't know. Maybe it's just because I was in school at the time, so we were having those kind of conversations in a critical and thinking way, And we would read a book and then analyze it. And I feel as we become adults and we don't have that kind of conversation necessarily, or someone leading that discussion naturally, like I'd like a teacher, or like if you don't if you're not talking about it with your friends, like I don't know, like I think there's like a lack of the breakdown for a lot of people. Like I think they're missing like that critical analysis part of like, let's consume this media and then let's like discuss how that applies to us today. Or like a lot of it's like, well, I didn't like this and I didn't like that and I hated their costumes and I hated this, but it's not ever like thinking about the story. And I don't know. I don't know. I think there's a little bit of lack of that, but that could be a personal journey on my own that I'm seeing.
Yeah, maybe that's something we'll try to be more aware of on our show, is when we're talking about Star Trek, thinking about its relevant comparisons in
Yeah.
contemporary times.
Yeah, I think that's what's going to be nice about doing these segments. Is like, okay, well, here's the episode we watched, and doesn't it remind you of this that is, relating to today in this exact scenario? So I think it's good to kind of be able to have those conversations instead of it just being like, here, take this story and figure it out. It's like, here, we've taken the story and now let's like put the puzzle pieces together and like talk about it as a fandom and as like a friends, right? As peers.
Well, about this particular segment, I just want to let people know that the link that I shared, where I watched it from, that's a blog, MuellerSheWrote.com, I believe. This is an article by Allison Gill, and the way that I actually watched it on that website, it was someone recording the TV playing the 60-minute segment in Canada. Because while Barry Weiss is not a very great news editor, she also seems kind of incompetent at just day-to-day operations, and they didn't pull the episode in time to stop it from airing in Canada. It was already distributed there on the Global TV app. But Blue Sky user Jason Paris posted the recording of his TV on Blue Sky, and I wanted to play this footage and share the audio and picture for the YouTube audience, and talk about it with y'all. But I'm right now, I feel like this is already kind of a big risk on YouTube to be talking about this at all. And all the videos I saw that were using footage of this, like they've all been taken down. They've all been taken down. So I'm trying not to get in too much trouble and get my content scrubbed from the internet. So I'll just talk about the segment. We'll kind of like walk our way through it, and people watching on YouTube, I'll have some images, but I'll leave the audio muted, and hopefully that stops the CBS copyright thing from landing on me.
This sounds like the let's talk about this episode beat by beat, but it's like the sad version.
Yeah, sad, but I feel kind of responsible and obligated to do this. So I think it should be CBS News's job to relay this information to the masses. But I guess
Right.
I guess I
The
have to
Tex-Trek
step up,
podcast.
so, yeah,
What CBS will want you to know. All right, go ahead. Sorry to
But yeah, I will. I'll share some images on screen here, but. This reporter, Sharon Alfonsi, explains, gives some context about the Trump administration's deportations that, to be objective, people, question the legality of. I think we can already say, a lot of judges have ruled many of these deportations as illegal. So, but again, just to be like fair and objective, I guess. But even so, we can say that the Trump administration has been committing these illegal deportations. And their justification, as Sharon Alfonsi points out, is the Alien Enemies Act, which that's supposed to be like kind of a war times thing, when you can ship people off with no due process. I don't know if people know like that term when I say like due process, but that basically just means the normal legal process to determine someone's guilt and punishment. Like, we were talking about, like, traffic tickets earlier. Like, if you get, like, a traffic ticket and, like, you don't contest it and you pay the fine, that's due process. But also, if you choose to contest it and then go to court, or if you're, like, on trial and you have to be judged by a jury of your peers, that's all part of a natural process that we've officiated in the United States for hundreds of years. So to lock someone up it's actually, like the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution. If you're going to deny someone from liberty and the pursuit of happiness, like you have to go through this legal process. Or in other words, there's shit you have to do before you can send someone to jail. And they're saying we don't have to do this shit because of the Alien Enemies Act. But even that would be questionable. But it's my understanding that is a wartime law. And believe it or not, like, we're not at war with any of these countries that we're deporting people to. So I know the Trump regime is really trying to start a war with Venezuela. And these pieces of shit, like, forgive my language, but like it really makes my blood boil when people talk about life and death and get people killed over money and resources and oil. But like Trump basically admits, he's like, yeah, I don't know, we're going to Venezuela for the oil. Like, our oil companies deserve that oil down there in that other country. So it's just blazing. But even like, okay, you're trying to like manufacture a war with Venezuela. I still don't think that means that like, okay, we can just like take their people and ship them off wherever we want. So Alien Enemies Act, but like that's the thing, is that they already know what they want to do. They want to do these mass deportations. It's very important to Stephen Miller. If people don't know who I'm talking about, look him up. But he's America's top Nazi. He is the president's advisor on domestic policy. And it was a major goal of his to get as many black and brown people deported out of this country as possible. And, I understand when people talk about, like, yeah, we need all the violent criminals. If they're not citizens, then send them out of here. And the problem with that is, believe it or not, I know, like, the way that, like, Republicans talk about immigration in this country, it makes it sound like, the Democrats are for open borders or, bringing, like, just whoever wants into the country in. But that doesn't really happen. There's actually a lot of deportations when Democrats are in office. Clinton, Obama, and Biden all deported a lot of people. And you know who they start with? The very first ones they try to arrest and deport were the violent criminals. So it's like, we're already doing that part.
Right.
We can't really, like, find more. So, yeah, it gets to the point where we're just grabbing anyone. And they don't talk about this in this segment, but just for everyone else's context out there, they've actually have pulled federal agents away from working on criminal cases. There's I have concerns about the FBI. I don't really trust law enforcement. They freak me out. But they're taking federal officers who are going after gangs and organized crime, and like these drug cartels that the Trump regime likes to tell us, like, oh, they're the bad guys. That's who we have to worry about. But we're actually moving federal resources away from investigating those cases and those individuals and those people, and just applying everything to let's get the max number of deportations possible. So it's to say that this has anything to do with I don't know, securing us from terrorists or drug cartels or anything. Like that's just all horse shit. The point of all this is to get the max number of deportations possible and discourage other people from migrating here. That's something that they talk about in this segment as it goes on. But one of the big things that comes up in here is there's a couple of former prisoners of CECOT who are interviewed in here, and the first one that they talked to, I think his name was Luis Munoz Pinta. He was an asylum seeker from Venezuela who entered the United States through Mexico. And one of the things that they point out in here is he followed the rules. He was doing everything he was supposed to do. They don't go into like why he left Venezuela, but like the Trump regime wants us to think like, oh, there's this like terrible, horrible government there, oppressing its people. And it's like, okay, then like we should be welcome. If you're saying like that government is your enemy, then like why aren't you like welcoming these people trying to flee it if it's really that bad? But so yeah, this guy fled Venezuela, came to the United States, and he was waiting to see if his asylum would be approved or not. He was in custody, And then he was told, "Oh, you're a menace to society. You can't be trusted. You're a violent criminal, even though you've never gotten so much as a traffic ticket," as he says in the interview. You're being shipped off to a country you have no reason to go to, El Salvador. So, I think it really humanizes. But just think this happened to hundreds of guys. I think it happened to hundreds of people who he was someone who just recently came to the United States, but there were people shipped there who had been living here for years, or in some cases, I think most of their lives. So, I don't know if you have any thoughts on any of that. I can talk more about the CECOT prison itself, but.
Yeah, you're doing good. I think keep recapping the segment.
So they go into a little bit more detail in the segment about the CECOT prison, how it has a history of violating UN standards for treatment of prisoners. And in 2023, there was a report from the United States, from our country. We were the country who claimed, oh yeah, there is torture in CECOT. But then in 2025, Marco Rubio, our Secretary of State, signs a deal with this prison. And oh no, we're going to pay you $4.7 million to house detainees. So, and that's crazy. Imagine, country A accuses country B of torture. And then 2 years later, country A is like, hey, we're going to pay you to do some of that illegal torture for us. So, and in this 60-minute segment, they talk to the deputy director of the organization Human Rights Watch. And this guy... his name escapes me. I encourage people to watch the segment yourself. But the deputy director says that, the U.S. is doing this to send a message to migrants not to come here. If you come to the United States, you'll end up tortured in El Salvador. They're basically trying to make it as horrendous as possible. And that group, Human Rights Watch, I haven't looked into it yet, but I'm planning to. They released some big 80-page report claiming there is systematic torture in CECOT. And another thing that they point out, this group, Human Rights Watch, is that only 8 of the hundreds of these Venezuelan detainees sent to CECOT, only 8 of them had any history of violent or potentially violent crimes. There were more who had some criminal records, but that could have just been immigration violations. But see, the shady thing about this, the way that it's hard to have exact numbers for how many people were sent there from the United States. So what were they all guilty of? Because the Trump regime has not been very transparent, and they don't share what these people are accused of. Which is another big red flag, for anyone who claims to care about the Constitution in the United States. So you're not supposed to be detained or imprisoned unless you know what it is. They're not supposed to just arrest you and then be like, well, we'll tell you why we're arresting you later. Again, imagine when you hear about that in other countries. But I should look up that report from Human Rights Watch and post a link to that. So I'll get that posted in the maybe we need a new section in the Tex-Trek Discord where we talk about some current events or some of the problems with Paramount, their lack of reporting here. Like I said, it should have been CBS News telling people that Human Rights Watch has this big report on the human rights violations in CECOT, but. The CBS News should be informing everyone. I guess they only informed Canada. And Taylor, another thing that I found kind of disturbing in this, that I don't know if I'd ever heard this before, but one of the things that they said in this segment was the ICE procedures for deportations. And if you're Venezuelan in the United States, apparently the number of tattoos you have can get you classified as a violent gang member by ICE.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that. And they were interviewing one guy, and he's like showing a portrait of like his baby daughter, and then like flowers, and he's like, "Yeah, these two tattoos," and they were like, "You're a violent gang member." I was like,
Yeah.
"Wow."
And I've just other stories that have broke on this, but there were they've arrested and deported a lot of people just because of tattoos. There is a guy who had an autism awareness tattoo who's been deported. There is a guy who had a I love my mom and dad tattoo. And some ICE bonehead told him like that looks like a gang tattoo. We're gonna arrest you and ship you out of this country because you're not a citizen.
Yeah. Any excuse. It's just like, yeah.
And like it'd be bad enough, like, imagine if like your brother, your coworker, your spouse, your kid, whatever, like if they're snatched up and shipped to another country. That's already a pretty big nightmare situation to live with. Like I wouldn't wish that on anyone. But then on top of that, it's like, oh, not only are they shipped to another country, but they're shipped to like one of the most horrendous prisons in the world right now. If again, I encourage people to watch the segment. If you're just listening to me only, there's footage in the segment of the prisoners in CECOT being corralled around by guards. It looks pretty bad. You got to also keep in mind that like the things that they show us, the things that they allow to be shot in that prison, that they allow to be shared. Like what are they not sharing? What's the stuff that they're not showing? And just to talk a little bit about like the conditions in CECOT, but there's another individual interviewed in this segment, and he talks about some of the torture, how they would use what they called the island for isolation, where you're basically locked up in a room in total darkness. The way he describes it, you can't even see your hand in front of your face, and then they would come in every 30 minutes to beat you up. There is no bedding. They just have like these like I guess like these metal slabs that they're stacked on, and the fluorescent lights are on 24/7. There's no going outside. I think they get 30 minutes out for exercise, and then they have to go back into the cage. And this is one of the most horrendous things that I heard in this 60-minute segment. But they said that they had to use the same water for baths and the toilet also for drinking. So, and the doctors, the prison doctors, if someone was injured or sick, the doctors would come up to that prisoner and tell them, well, you need to drink more toilet water. You're not drinking enough water, so just drink water and you'll feel better.
Yeah, but you have to have clean water to feel better. So, step one is like, oh, you're making people sick by drinking this bad water, and you're gonna tell them to go drink more of it. Like it's just a torture method, and like, again, like we see that in the shoot, right, where you have these horrible conditions, and then they turn on each other, and it's just like because they're all stressed and sick and scared, and that's it's just a recipe for like brewing anger and fear and breaking these people down. And basically it's just like these people like really want to hurt people. That's like what you see, I think, in this is it's like there's not really I don't think there's any good reason, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to say that, but like I feel like it's like these people enjoy hurting people is all I can think about when I watch this.
It makes me think, who are the people who sign up to join ICE right now, and why it is also incredibly concerning that now that ICE is funded more than a lot of countries' militaries. Like I think that our new budget, we put as much money into ICE as Russia puts into their entire military. So you have like this massive police force. It was just like recruiting like crazy. There's like, yeah, we're not screening any of these guys. We're just like giving like these guns and badges to any dipshit, it seems like. And these are the results. But yeah, who the hell wants to do this? Who the hell wants to like go break up families and just some of the things that ICE has done. Let me look at some of my notes here. But they've assaulted an 84 married couple. There's proof of that. They beat up a 84-year-old elderly couple. They've shot a priest in the face with a pepper ball. They've tear gassed babies and journalists and cops. There was that apartment building in Chicago. I don't know if people know about this, but they raided an apartment building with like helicopters. They had dudes like rappelling out of helicopters into an apartment building full of people just like living in their apartment building. There were U.S. citizens, children, grabbed out of bed, snatched out of bed in the middle of the night, and handcuffed and zip-tied and thrown into U-Haul trucks naked in the cold night. Like imagine like the kids like going through that, and many of them were U.S. citizens.
Yeah.
But that was also something, Taylor, in this 60 Minutes segment, they do talk to some Berkeley students that are investigating human rights violations.
Mm-hmm. Their professor specifically helps them like identify war crimes from images using satellite and photography that's shared from the El Salvador prison, right?
Yeah.
Or like from the content they approved, and then they like use all of the information as like ties to itself to like come up with like maps and kind of like get the idea of the scale of what's happening and reading between the lines of a lot of it.
Yeah, but that was one of the things that those students were saying, is that it felt to them like, the people at CECOT, the warden, the guards, President Bukele, there is an immense amount of pride they take in how terrible of a prison they create for these individuals there, which, would be one thing if it was actually, full of guilty people who had been tried and convicted in a court of law. But the fact that we know that there's been innocent people sent there. Mm-hmm. Like, we know that that's happened. We know that if you remember the El Salvadorian living in the United States in Maryland, who was sent to CECOT on accident, Kilmar Agrego Garcia, right? But yeah, they basically admitted in court, like, oh, that was a mistake. We didn't mean to send that guy. Oops, our bad. So
that's like an insane mistake.
Yeah, that's why like this place shouldn't exist. Like this place shouldn't exist for anyone. Like
no. I'm just like, if you're spending all this money on this and they keep fucking up this bad, like on purpose, intentionally, right? At this point, because it's like, what, all 200 of these Venezuelans end up getting returned. So, but that's for, I guess, a different reason. But still, it's just like, it's so hard to like explain and talk about. I'm sorry. Like I can feel the feelings, but it's hard to put the words to the feelings. But it just seems like if you're doing it this wrong, like all the time, like why are there not better policies?
Yeah, why not stop?
Stop. Yeah, exactly. Let's reevaluate. We fucked up. Yeah,
we're
like how
shipping out the wrong
embarrassing.
people. Maybe we need to slow down the deportations till we figure it out.
Yeah, but follow some goddamn rules, and maybe like have your spreadsheet more accurate so that they can understand like what the criminal charges are, and like that's just, I don't know, like it's so like it just seems so unprofessional and cruel and stupid and rushed.
They do that on purpose, though. They want to rush everything. It's called the shock doctrine, It was a technique that George Bush and Dick Cheney made really popular when they sped run us into a war in Iraq. And they were basically some of the courts might decide this is unlawful. Oh, yeah, some of the voters might decide they don't really like this. So we just got to do everything fast.
Right, get it in before we hear too much, or they learn too quickly, or I think there's also like this like constant need to like change the narrative in the news like constantly and keep us overwhelmed and like fearful and feeling like there's no hope, right? And it's just like, well, I don't know, like it's just like, Like, I remember this happening and it feels like years ago. And this was just like earlier this year, you know? Or I guess
Or last
a few
year
months
now,
ago
but
now.
yeah.
Yeah. I just realized it did become 2026 yesterday. Um, anyways, I don't remember where I was going with that.
But we were talking about some of the torture they described in the prison, and then one of the things they didn't get into much in this segment, but some of the sexual torture that's gone on in CECOT. But one of the guys that was interviewed on here, he talks about his privates being grabbed by guards there. This wasn't part of the 60 Minutes segment, but the New York Times did a story recently, and they said that there was extreme sexual abuse going on in this prison. That men were being beat with batons and forced to perform oral sex on the guards. Just really sickening stuff. It's again, like imagine being an innocent person and being shipped off to these conditions, and a lot of the people, you mentioned, Taylor, that the 252 Venezuelans that were freed recently in return for 10 Americans jailed in Venezuela, but there are detainees from the United States that have been shipped to El Salvador that are still in CECOT. So,
I think I have some thoughts and they're probably going to come out clunky, but the fact that like 252 Venezuelans are returned for 10 Americans is also such a like slap in the face kind of thing to those Venezuelans. Like, oh, like y'all are all worth only 10 other people. Does that make sense? Like us torturing you for months and putting you in these horrible conditions. It's not even, it's like insane. Like, that can't be level to, like, 10 other people. Do you know what I'm saying? And, like, probably in better jail situation. Like, it's unfair. And, like, and then I also kind of wanted to talk about this upcoming part of the documentary where that lady...
Kristi Noem, the Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem. Also famous for shooting a dog and bragging about it.
Didn't know that.
She wanted to be Trump's vice president, and so to prove she was so cool and heartless, she bragged about like, I was training my dog Cricket to be a hunting dog, and she sucks, so I shot my dog because that's how hardcore I am. And Trump is a hardcore guy who likes to shoot dogs too, probably, so he should pick me as his VP candidate. But,
yeah.
Well, he just throws them into the bottom of Lake Michigan, allegedly.
Yeah, but so when she's touring the prison, I guess, like there's strategic placement of criminals that are actually criminals that we see in the documentary. The humanitarian guy, he's like, yeah, they strategically place like people who say or have tattoos of El Salvador and MS and because those are gang tattoos that they know of for sure.
And MS-13 specifically is a El Salvadorian gang. I think it started in the United States, but it was El Salvadorians in the United States who started MS-13. But yeah, they do like this photo stunt. This like they shoot a promo video basically of Kristi Noem standing in front of these MS-13 criminals who weren't even people arrested in the United States. These are like El Salvador's like own gang members. They're just like, hey, let's put like all the scary looking guys with the MS-13 tattoos right behind Kristi Noem and make it look like, oh, look at all these evildoers in the United States. We rounded up and got out of here. When none of these guys were even in the U.S. It's extremely propagandic.
It's intentional misguidance and like strewing the narrative to what they want you to believe is the correct thing that they did, but it's incorrect information, right? But like to a casual news viewer, that's just going to look like what they say it is if they're not going to like think critically and ask questions and, have this segment where it debunks things.
Yeah, no,
and if those voices who debunk things and like, hey, well, let's like break this down and like think about what they're saying and like look at the facts. If that's all being quieted and not allowed to be published, then you are literally living in a country that doesn't want you to know what they're doing.
I guess it is kind of nice to see that there were people documenting the suspected human rights violations and trying to collect as much evidence as possible. Because I would love, I don't hold my breath, just given the way history has unfolded thus far, but I would love to see some accountability for this someday. Like, I hope that there's attorneys somewhere that are just tracking every illegal thing that this regime does, because we really need to see, like, heads roll to stop this from happening again. Like, I don't know what's it going to take. I don't know if it needs, like, more Star Trek content creators to start talking about this too, but, like, there needs to be consequences.
Yeah. Yeah. It's definitely... never mind. I'll wait and think on that, and maybe next week I'll have a more uniform idea. But there's something, like, French Revolution-y that feels like... It's just like a history repeating itself feeling.
A storm is brewing. Oh, well, I think that I think that's more from the wealth disparity that we're experiencing.
Oh,
but
well, yeah, I wasn't going to get into it all, but, like, the whole, like, Hall of Mirrors at Versailles, like, this gold and then, like, having, like, the ballroom being built, and then, like, the Kennedy Center. Go ahead.
We should refer to the Trump ballroom that they're building in the White House as the Jeffrey Epstein Memorial Ballroom, since that class of billionaires are the ones funding it. Which I think that's like that's just like a big scandal. That was just like a way to like launder a bunch of money. Like how much money does it really take to build a ballroom? I think that was just like getting a lot of billionaire buddies to pay into Trump's vanity project. And but I see that's another example of the shock and awe. Like this has been such a scandalous time, such a criminal time. Like the amount of crime that Trump has gotten away with, even before he was back in the White House for his second term. It's just like even if I like stopped talking about Star Trek altogether, and every week I just talked about like a different Trump crime, it would still take forever to cover.
I feel like you'd have 7 segments, one for each day of the week, like every week.
You get like this weird kind
Here's
of
another
phenomenon.
one.
But that's why stuff like this flies under the radar. Like if this had happened 6 months into his first term, if we were having this conversation in 2017 instead of 2025, maybe it would have hit much harder. But we've already have seen such insane stuff. The world has just watched a live streamed genocide in Gaza for 2 years. After you see 2 years worth of babies being shot in the head and hospitals bombed and people being buried alive under bulldozers, it's of course the rest of the stuff isn't as shocking anymore. And that's a horrible world we're creating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, everyone's like really desensitized and overwhelmed by the amount of like, there's like no hope, is what I was saying. It's like, well, it's going to happen to me eventually, is kind of the feeling.
Is that your feeling? You're like, well, they're gonna ship me off to El Salvador eventually.
Oh, I don't know. A little more privileged to not be taken in the middle of my bed just because of the color of my skin.
But yeah, that's something that I think about. It's like, well, you and I both have tattoos. I feel like if I walk by an ICE officer and I have, like my sleeves rolled up or something where he can see my tattoos, like I don't feel like I'm gonna get shipped off back to Ireland. I mean, that'd be kind of cool. I would like that, but
they won't send you to Ireland. That's not their MO.
Yeah, no, they would send me to the wrong country. And that's one of the things that the Trump administration is trying to do now, that they talk about at the end of the 60 Minutes segment. But the Trump administration is now looking for the term we're using now, I guess, is third countries. So we're looking for other third countries to dump deportees into. Like some of the countries they're considering are South Sudan and Uganda. That was a thing that I mentioned Kilmar Agrego Garcia earlier. Mm-hmm. The Maryland man sent to CECOT. Senator Chris Van Hollen went down there and met with them, and eventually Kilmar was released. But then the Trump administration, they were embarrassed, like, oh, look, we got caught sending this guy to prison when we didn't mean to, and we told everyone, oh, there's no way to get him back, but then he ended up getting back, so we're really embarrassed. Let's try to deport this guy to another country. And they were trying to send him to, I think, Liberia at one point came up. A country totally has like most people can't even find Liberia on a map. Like, I'm not even sure. It's like some little African country on the west coast. But no one wants to just be like picked up one night and shipped off to a country they weren't even able to find on the map the day before.
Also, isn't that country literally called Liberty? Like from slavery? Like from
That's right,
because of people who were doing this before?
It was supposed to be like freed slaves from the United States could go.
Yeah.
I think the original point of Liberia, but yeah, imagine being him. Imagine being Kilmar Agrego Garcia or his family and having to live with like this constant fear of like, man, like the government of the most powerful country in the world is embarrassed by me, and they really want me to be shipped out of this country. Like, imagine feeling that.
Yeah, no, that's terrifying.
So, it also reminds me on a similar subject that now Israel is looking, they have been for a long time, but Israel is looking for countries to dump the Gaza population in and totally finish their ethnic cleansing of Gaza. That's one of the reasons why Israel has just recognized Somaliland as this country that no one else in the world has recognized, but Israel wants to make a deal with Somaliland to send the remaining Gaza population there. The really tragic part of that is Trump also a few months ago when he was meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu talked about moving the 1.5 million people out of Gaza. It's before the genocide started 2 years ago. Like the population of Gaza was like 2.3 million, I believe. So so the Israeli head of state and the U.S. head of state, they seem to think there's only 1.5 million people left alive in Gaza. So that's like 800,000 wiped out. We can't have an official kill count because there's still people being killed over there during the ceasefire, and they're also just bulldozing over all of the dead bodies and literally like just burying everyone and all the evidence. So, who knows if we'll ever know. But that's the same thing, Taylor. That's more kind of that shock and awe kind of mentality is, let's go to the max and do as much damage as possible, as quickly as possible, before there's any consequences to worry about. And unfortunately, that seems to be an effective method to do a lot of harm in a short amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I'd like to wrap things up on a more positive note. I guess the fact that the Barry Weiss and CBS News, our new Paramount plus fascism style CBS News, they are so incompetent that they were unable to stop this. They basically failed to pull this 60-minute segment. It managed to be released in Canada, and then people were going onto the internet to watch the Canadian version like we did. Like, I have the link in the comment for the live audience. I'll put it in the description for the podcast audience, and I'll make sure to post it in the Tex-Trek Discord server. But, I feel like so many more people are tuning in to this particular story than ever would have noticed it had it just aired on 60 Minutes normally as originally planned.
Oh, for sure.
That is a bit of a silver lining. I hope that they
fail this bad. I hope they fail this bad every time they try to do a cover-up, because it needs that attention, It needs to piss people off and, like, get that level of, like, well, if they don't want me to see it, I want to go see it. Like, that kind of, like, rebellion, like, rebellious feeling of, like, we're all kind of, like... I don't know, like when your mom tells you like to go do the dishes and you were about to do the dishes and now you're like, I don't want to do the dishes anymore. Like it's kind of the same feeling, but as an adult and like a way worse situation, obviously. But it's like, oh, if you're like president or whatever, your country is telling you not to look at something. Well, I'm like, well, I'm definitely going to go look at it now
Yeah, no, I remember like being a little kid going to church and the preacher being heavy metal music is bad for you, kid. It comes from the devil, and being like, oh, I need to listen to
You're
as much
like,
heavy
oh,
metal music
cool.
as possible. Yeah, so yeah, there's definitely some truth to that. But we live in an age where it's so easy to distract ourselves and comfort ourselves and look away. I know it's hard, and you really have to. It's something that I've had to think about a lot lately. But you have to find a way to balance it out. You have to keep up with it. You have to stay informed and be as active as you have capacity to be. But also, you have to have like some joy in your life. No one wants to join. No one wants to join the revolution to overthrow the authority if everyone's miserable. Like you gotta show you can
Right.
still have like some joy and fun. So speaking of that, we can transition away and talk a little bit about Starfleet Academy. Again, for anyone who joined us late, this was supposed to be an entire show about Starfleet Academy. We typically do these before new seasons of Star Trek. We do these shows where we list off some of the top things we hope we see, and maybe throw in like one thing we hope we don't see in the show. But I don't know, Taylor. I kind of think it might be fun just to talk about like some things we might hope we see in Starfleet Academy, or I don't know if you have any
Sure.
big fears about it, but
I always have big fears.
well, you hate new shows, you
I
hate new
hate new
characters.
things. I was literally just about to bring that up. I was like, I've seen the poster. I don't like any of them yet.
But I know you normally don't watch trailers or read too much about things or watch clips like before something comes out. You like to go in as fresh as possible with seeing as little of it as blind as possible. But I know I did show you, it was a long time ago, but that San Diego Comic-Con trailer for Starfleet Academy, and you were like, "Oh yeah, these students look cute." So I
Yeah.
think you're likely to get on board with some of these people after we get to know them.
Yeah. I can tell you this is my one thing, okay, with like a whole group of people. I don't want any kind of like crazy relationship changes or like, I don't know, like even like big authority changes in the first season. Like I want to get to know the characters before we start changing things up all the time. Because that hurts my brain and I have a really hard time giving a shit about their stories if they're changing constantly like that. Like I want to see like their own personal development of how like they are individually more than I want to see their relationship dynamics change. Does that make sense?
Like as far as like dating goes, like you don't want to see like love triangle stuff or
Yeah, I always hate that shit. But also I don't want to see like, oh, we hate our teacher, but this other teacher is cooler and like this teacher, I don't know. Like I don't want to see like teacher replacement either. Like I want them to like learn to like their teacher. Do you know what I mean? Like if they have a problem with their teacher, then they got to like figure out how to get on their good side or something. But I don't want to be like jumping around all over the place, or I don't want it to always just be like, so I don't know. Maybe that's like a really bad way to say it, but I don't want it to be like, I want it to be like character driven and in like an individual character way. Like I want to see them work through challenges and like learn and get better and I don't know, get into weird pickles and stuff. But I don't know. I wish there was like less drama. Maybe I'm the only person on earth that wants less drama. I'm like, can we just have more science and like more like
no, there's a
cool
lot of Star
stuff?
Trek fans who feel that way. They don't like want shows where everyone gets along and stuff. Like, I mean, I'm the one who like I think that's I want to see sparks. I want these characters to not get along. I want to have Kira talk shit to Garrick. I want to have Spock and McCoy sass each
Oh,
other. Like,
well, that's all fine. I'm just meaning like, I don't know. I just feel like in Strange New Worlds, it's like, fuck, like every single person has dated Spock now. And I'm
oh,
sick of it. I don't want that
yeah,
to happen
yeah.
in Academy. Like,
Bingenium in the live
it's,
audience has a good one. Bingenium says also stop killing characters. Yeah, like that would be
they
one of
don't
those
kill
kind
enough
of shakeups.
characters.
Oh, you want
I
fewer
don't think they kill enough.
characters.
I'm like, kill them all. There's too many. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. I just hope that we get some cool classes. Like, I also kind of want to know, like, what kind of courses do they take at Starfleet, you know? And, like, how do they engage in, like, what would that be, like, labs and, like, workshops and away missions? Like, when Tilly took that team out to that hostile planet. you know? So I'm looking
Yeah,
forward to stuff like that.
all is possible. Star Trek Discovery season 4 when we have the field trip.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this might be a fun point, a fun place to drop this theory I came up with. But you know what? We all thought for years this Academy show was in development for years. We all thought that Mary Wiseman was going to be a regular, maybe even the lead, like the lead teacher in the Academy show. They even put that line at the end of Discovery, the very last episode. They say, Michael Burnham says, "Oh,
Looks like you found
Tilly."
your calling.
Well, in the last
Oh, go ahead.
episode,
Sorry, go ahead.
When it flashes forward, she mentions Tilly and says, "Oh, she had the longest tenured career at Starfleet Academy." And then in the show, we know we're only getting her in one episode in season 1. I don't know if there's anything in season 2, but I assume not. Maybe they would have said so. So my theory was that originally she was going to be a series regular. But then Robert Picardo, he knows how to whisper to these producers. He whispered his way into having that cameo in Star Trek First Contact. And, like they brought him back on Prodigy. And he whispered into Alex Kurtzman's ear. He says, I'm really good with these kids on Prodigy. You're doing the show Starfleet Academy. It would be great if you had like the Doctor show up there. And then they just replaced Tilly with the Doctor. I don't think that's actually true, but I don't know. That's a theory I'll toss out there just for fun.
Yeah, I feel like it would be also possible that there was just disagreements between either pay or expectations of story between the actor and the stories or the producers or something. Like, we don't know, but I mean, like, there's so many possibilities of why maybe she's not in it as much. But that also was like a major bummer to me because I was really excited to get more Tilly.
Yeah.
So
I was from day one in Star Trek Discovery. I was #silly for Tilly. I thought when they first announced all of the characters, and who is this Mary Wiseman? And I was like, oh, she's really cute. And then I was like, oh, this is an interesting character. And then I was like, oh, she has like this really cool relationship with Michael, and they're like this cool like. They're another one of those classic Star Trek friendships, like Miles and Julian or Data and Geordi. We had Tilly and Michael, and yeah, she quickly became one of the standouts of Disco to me. Either like the later seasons didn't really seem to know what to do with her, and then they're like, we're gonna make her a teacher. It's like, oh, okay, I guess they decided they're gonna have teacher Tilly, and
that pissed me off.
We get one episode of it.
Yeah.
It pissed you off that she had the smaller role on the show.
Well, no, and 4. I hate the trope of like, oh, women are teachers. Like, I feel like that happens so much where it's like, oh, they're really great at this thing. What are you going to do? And it's like, I'm going to go teach. I'm like, oh, okay. What about all the science that you were enjoying? And like, you were doing all this stuff with Stamets and like whatever. And like, you were really good at all that too. So, I don't know. They need good teachers. And I'm not saying that's not a good job. Like, that's obviously an amazing job. But I think sometimes that is like in a show or something, kind of like a write-off. Like, it's like, bye.
Here's something I'm looking forward to in a Starfleet Academy, or at least something I hope that they do. But I would like to see more episodic stories, a bit more like Strange New Worlds. This is the first...
wrap that shit up in 45 minutes.
But this is the first new show that they've done since Strange New Worlds, right? That was the last new Star Trek show, and that was in 2022. So...
Those are pretty episodic, too. So, I mean, they have like an overarch, but it works out. I like it.
That's what I'm saying, is that the Strange New Worlds was pretty popular. Like, I know people didn't like season 3 as much, but seasons 1 and 2 seemed much more popular in fandom than a lot of other recent Trek. And that is probably going to have some kind of influence on this show, I think. My prediction is that Starfleet Academy... We haven't seen any of it yet, we should tell people. But my prediction is that the episodes will be less serialized than Discovery, but a little bit more serialized than Strange New Worlds. It'll kind of be like somewhere in between.
I think it's going to be visually epic. Like, I feel like they've really crushed like the visuals in Strange New Worlds, but they really lacked for me on like deep storytelling and like good storytelling. And I just really have low expectations for the story for Starfleet Academy.
You think the writing's going to be
I do.
a little shaky?
Yeah, well, I mean, look at what they're working under now. So it's like they can't say anything that they want to say, or if they wanted to say something, they feel like they can't. So it's like,
something that I don't want to see. I don't want to have anything changed to appease this new right-wing Paramount Skydance.
But I think that's going to change so much more than just like the ethical conversations we're going to have in Starfleet Academy. I think we're going to have less like diversity, like less LGBTQA, like people in the show, like, because that literally we saw that happen in Strange New Worlds, like from season 1 to season 3. There's less of everything, and it's so boring. And like I don't know, like I wish Starfleet Academy, it's like the perfect time, because like if you think of like your college years, your high school years, it's like the perfect time to be having like people do whatever and like
and meeting different people,
be so diverse, and and
the
it's
infinite
like
diversity and infinite combinations.
It's like
that's a part of the college experience, right?
Yeah, the melting pot, and like meeting people you wouldn't normally meet, and like you're all from walks of life in the same journey together, and you having like, I want to see conflict based on that. Like, well, I was raised over here on this planet, and that's not how we do things, and then. You know what I mean? And like there's the conflict of like culture, but you're like learning and growing together. That's what I want to see. I don't want to see like, oh, I'm in love with you and I'm not.
But I don't think we have to worry too much about these first 20 episodes of Academy, as they were made before the merger went through. And I think, typically if you're going to cast like a voice-only character, that's something that you would do later in post-production. If you're just going to cast a character who's just a voice. But, they have Stephen Colbert as the digital dean of students in the show. And my hope is that was Alex Kurtzman reacting to CBS firing Stephen Colbert. That was something we didn't bring up, but that was something that the Ellisons did to appease Trump to help get their merger approved, was fire Colbert. That's something, for a long time, people were kind of in denial about that. They're like, well, I don't know, late night comedy shows aren't that high in the ratings these days. But as time has gone on, it's just become more and more obvious that was intentional to appease Trump. But then Star Trek turns around and hires Colbert to be the voice of the digital dean of students in Academy. I'm hoping that they are doing everything they can on this show. If this is the end of Secret Hideout making Star Trek for Paramount Plus, that they're trying to go out kind of thumbing their noses at the new bosses. I don't know how likely that is. I don't know when I see these episodes if I'll be like, oh, that clearly was the case, or if I'll be like, that clearly wasn't the case, or if I'll be like, who the hell knows. But that is my hope. But I don't know. I guess another hope would be like, I also hope that David Ellison's the young one, right? Larry is the dad. But like my other hope is that David Ellison will be better than his dad when everything works out. But like he's another spoiled rich kid. He's going to be another just shitty billionaire to do whatever is going to be most profitable for him. And I don't have much faith. I challenge him to surprise me and contradict my prediction, but I do not think he will.
Yeah.
But something else positive about Academy, something like I would like to see. I would love if there was a deaf kid in Academy. We haven't had many deaf characters in Star Trek.
Yes, I'm all for that.
I remember during a Comic-Con panel, during one of these Star Trek Universe panels they've done. I don't know if we'll ever get any more of those now, honestly. But during one of them, someone in the Q&A, they asked Alex Kurtzman, they said, you have this really cool blind representation character with Geordi. Can we get a deaf representation character in Star Trek? And Alex Kurtzman says, that's a great idea. We'll have to do that. So, come on, Alex. Like, let's not disappoint that guy who asked you that question at Comic-Con. If I remembered it, I hope you remember it. So,
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. So I hope they're a little bit more episodic than Disco, and I hope they have a deaf kid. But yeah, I don't know. I want to get excited for Starfleet Academy. It's really hard for me to be pumped for a Paramount Plus product right now.
Yeah.
But we'll be covering every episode weekly. As I said at the top of the show, just to remind people, Rachel will be doing live first reaction streams on Thursday nights, and then Taylor and I will be doing the podcast episodes on Fridays, where we will discuss the episodes and also discuss a problem that we're having with Paramount. We're at Paramount plus fascism, as I might start calling it.
We're workshopping that segment.
Yeah.
Title.
But speaking of things we're workshopping, we also have another show that we are prepping. I've mentioned it before, but we are launching the Other Star franchise, where Taylor and I will talk about the Other Star franchise, Star Wars. Something like I try to avoid doing too much on Tex-Trek. Long time listeners and followers of the show will know that I get a little bit of the Star Trek Star Wars rivalry. I kind of feel like, oh, Star Trek fans are so nice to Star Wars fans, and they can be such jerks. And you know, so many Star Trek fans have all these like nice positive things to say about Star Wars, and Star Wars fans are just like, Star Trek is boring. I don't like that. I don't like that lame nerd shit that makes me think. I just want to have space lasers. But there's actually a lot in Star Wars that I enjoy. So Taylor and I will be we're doing a massive Star Wars rewatch, but also watching some new things we hadn't seen before.
Yeah. I actually didn't even realize there was a rivalry until a year ago, or 2 years ago, I guess now, when I met you.
I mean,
I was like, oh, Star Wars is cool and Star Trek is cool. And you're like, oh, yeah, normally people like really hate one and really love the other. And I didn't know that.
I don't know if that's true, but I think most people prefer one. Not
that's
necessarily
fair.
Like really hate or really, but I know plenty of people who love both.
To be fair, though, I was primarily only in the Star Wars fandom before because I'd never seen Star Wars. Star Trek.
But you
before
went
I met you.
deep into the Star Trek fandom.
Yes, but I was like a very, I would say casual, but like
you were
probably
Trek
not.
curious. You were Trek curious.
No. Hold on, you're off track of what thought I'm going for. Like I was a more than casual fan of Star Wars. Like I was still a little hyper fixated on Star Wars, and I'm not going to lie, I had some bad experiences in that fandom, but it didn't put me off from Star Wars. And then I was a little bit like, oh, when I got into Star Trek, worried the fandom would be similar, and it's been the complete opposite. So, like, I can see almost more of, like, a debate of Star Wars fans versus Star Trek fans than I can the series versus the series. So.
Yes. We don't have a perfect fandom with Star Trek, but it is my favorite fandom, and I think it is the greatest, just in my personal experience, the greatest collection of great people. That's why we have.
Y'all were raised right. Y'all were raised on Star Trek. You'll have all these ethical conversations so early on. It's helped make y'all all much more entertaining and nice, and like caring for others and having empathy. Like, I think a lot of those things are very straight from Star Trek, you know? And not to say that Star Wars doesn't have those things. I just think it's very clearly laid out in Trek, if that makes sense.
Those are the parts of Star Trek that really draw me to it. But the parts of Star Wars that really draw me to it are the, hey, let's resist this fascist empire and kick its ass and just be like these scrappy punks. We're just like these poor little dudes with our shitty little hot rod spaceships, and there's like this big ass empire with these mass-produced massive ships and countless soldiers, and we're not gonna let that intimidate us. We're gonna fight the empire. So
so you have to have both. You have a little bit of Star Wars in you and a little bit of Trek in you. You gotta balance it out.
It's like, I'm a little bit Star Wars. I'm a little bit Star Trek. Do you know that reference?
No.
I'm a little bit country. Well, it doesn't matter.
Well, you did great.
But the Other Star franchise, we're looking to get that started within the next week or two. So,
we're doing. Oh, sorry.
Well, you go ahead.
I was going to say it's important to note that we're doing it chronologically. So we are going to be watching everything up to the Mandalorian movie. Is like our big finale.
That's our goal, is to get ready for that May 22nd. A movie that I hear a lot of people complaining about. They're like, why is this even a movie? It should just be on Disney+. It's like, maybe it'll suck. Sometimes Star Wars sucks ass, but sometimes it kicks ass. So you never know what you're going to get.
sometimes it sucks, and then you let it marinate, or they add so many more stories to help it contextualize better that then it becomes better over time. Because they're like, oh, that really sucked. Let's explain what was really going on in a different way.
But
So,
the other Star franchise YouTube channel is live on YouTube if people want to subscribe there, and it'll be available on podcast platforms shortly, as soon as we get our first show out, which I think we'll probably do next week or so. But we will be watching all of the Star Wars shows and movies. We're not doing like I don't know, what's that little like preschool Jedi show? I don't know what that's. We're skipping that.
Resistance?
No, not Resistance. That was a real show, even though it wasn't very good.
Oh,
But I don't know. Joel will tell me in the
yeah,
live
Joel.
audience. He just
Tell
shared
us.
the link, by the way, for people watching live. Here is the link to the Other Star franchise YouTube channel. Please hit subscribe over there and get ready for our Star Wars content. But yeah, the first show we're going to start with is a show I've never seen. You've never seen, The Acolyte.
Nope. It went under my radar.
It's like
As
150 years before the
Yeah.
rest of the franchise. It's like, I don't really care about like I never got into like that old Republic stuff or any of like the
That's what I'm
ancient
saying.
histories, but
They're always adding more context to make the existing stuff better. To make
It's
it
like-
make sense, they have to add more. Is what it feels like. They're putting Band-Aid fixes on a lot of stuff.
but yeah, that's something we've never seen before. Then we're gonna watch all of Clone Wars and Rebels and Andor and all the movies and the Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett. All of that stuff. We're gonna watch all of that in chronological order, and then we're going to end with Skeleton Crew, which is another show neither of us have seen. So we're gonna start with the
Yeah.
Acolyte. Neither of us had seen it. We're going to watch a shitload of other stuff, and then we're going to end with Skeleton Crew, and then we'll go see the Grogu movie.
I'm excited. People in the comments are really praising Acolyte, so that's giving me more
Yeah.
encouragement. Because I definitely was worried about that one, and also Skeleton Crew. So it'll be fun to bookend with something new on both ends.
Yeah. I'm a little bit more excited for Skeleton Crew, just because like I know it's set in like the normal Star Wars time period, and it's not like 150 years earlier. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to giving the Acolyte a try. I've heard some things about it recently that made me think like, that actually does sound more interesting than I originally thought. So, Oh, and Joel is also recommending Caravan of Courage. That's the Ewok movie. It's available on Disney Plus. That I was a fan of those growing up, the Ewok movies. So maybe when we run out of we'll probably take a break after Mandalorian and Grogu. But
Yeah.
We'll come back to the Other Star franchise on occasions for who knows, maybe Caravan of Courage someday. So, but yeah, we don't know. We're gonna do a similar format with those that we do with Tex-Trek. We're gonna stream them live and then put them on podcast platforms. You'll be able to watch the video on certain podcast platforms with that. So a little different there, but it's gonna be kind of a quick and dirty. We're just gonna do like, here's some conversations about the Star Wars we watched this last week or so, and then we're not gonna edit it or anything. We're just gonna send it off into the internet, and people can enjoy it or ignore it as they choose.
Rough cuts.
But I think that does it. I don't have any other updates or anything, but yeah, if y'all like hearing Taylor and I talk about Star Trek, please follow our Star Wars adventures. And next week we will be back with, assuming I will get all of my research done in the next week, we will be back with a show on the Starfleet Academy lore. I'm basically going to comb over all of the mentions of the Academy and everything we know about the Academy before the new show, and just do a kind of a Starfleet Academy history lesson, just the lore
Professor
of Starfleet Academy.
Fathery. Professor Fathery
I'll
next week.
I'll get to be an Academy professor, so looking forward to that. And then, like I said, the weekly coverage of Starfleet Academy on Thursdays and Fridays. So,
Tux is ready to be done.
Tux the cat says that's time. We got to end it. But everyone needs to go over to the Transporter Room YouTube channel, because shortly, I think in about 30 or 40 minutes, Joel is going to be continuing his Lego building. He's been doing a series of live streams on the Transporter Room, building the Enterprise D Lego set. So that will be available at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time. So I think Joel said he's on bag number, is it 6 out of 30? Is that right? He'll let me know. Please go check that out, y'all. And come back next week for some Starfleet Academy lore. And until next time, as always, live long and prosper, y'all.
Subscribe to YouTube to watch the Tex-Trek podcast live or listen to us later on your favorite podcast platform. Follow Stephen Fothery on socials at TXTrek. Thank you and take care.